Most of us have some retirement savings and maybe a sprinkle of Social Security, but that's simply not going to be enough for most of us. And before you say, what about my rich aunt's inheritance? Just know that that's as reliable as guessing the weather by using the magic 8 ball.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what are the sources of income that you can use to pay for your retirement? Well, this is Queer Money episode 551. Today, we're sharing exactly that. How do you figure this out? Now, on with the show. The mission of Queer Money is to financially empower the LGBTQ plus community. Join us in thanking Capital One for supporting that mission.
Welcome back to another episode of our little retirement series, How Gays Retire Fabulously. This last week in step 2, remember, we estimated how much money you'll need in retirement. And remember, we broke those up into different buckets. We actually started the buckets in episode 1 of this series, or the first step of this series: basic, happy, and fabulous. Today, we're going to talk about exactly how you're going to fund those different buckets. Where is that money going to come from?
All right, so this is the tool that John and I have come up with.
It's a brand new tool.
Exactly.
It's beta.
This is a beta version of what we're calling the Nest Egg Navigator. And this is the tool that we are using to help us determine what is going to actually fund that basic, happy, or fabulous retirement, based on what are the most common types of income sources in retirement.
If you're watching this on video on YouTube and you like this calculator, you think you'd want a copy of it, give us a heart or a thumbs up or comment in the comments. I want this damn calculator.
Exactly. So, as I mentioned, this is kind of an estimating tool as to where the money is going to come from for you to be able to fund your retirement. If you look at the side there, we have the variety of sources of income. These are what are going to contribute to you having that basic, happy, or fabulous retirement. Remember our numbers: $80,000 for basic, $170,000 for happy, and $250,000 a year for fabulous. If you haven't watched the step 2 of this series as to how we came up with those numbers, go back to last Thursday's episode and go ahead and watch or listen to that.
549 is the episode number.
Exactly. So here, what I've done is I've basically broken it down into what are the percentages of income, or what are the percentages of our total overall income that we will need from each of these categories to have that basic, happy, or fabulous. So one of the things that I kind of started this out with is I knew this idea that basically, after looking at our myssa.gov account and kind of taking into consideration to what we think we're going to get from Social Security in retirement based on their calculations, I know that John and I combined will probably be getting around $40,000 when it comes to our retirement. That's annually. Combined, we'll be getting around $40,000. And so I could use that as the foundation for these numbers, right? So if I'm looking at basic, I know that $40,000 is 50% of the basic income that we would need for a basic retirement. So I plugged that 50% in. And the same thing with happy and fabulous, right? 40,000, there's a slight estimate there, a slight modification in the numbers, but I wanted round percentages here. So 50%, 24%, or 16%, that's what would be the sources of our income for those categories. And that kind of laid the groundwork for, okay, where's the rest of this money going to have to come from? John and I both have done a fairly decent job of setting aside money for retirement. And we've also benefited from some great growth in some of the choices that we've made. So I know that our retirement accounts are going to be a larger portion of the rest of the money that we would need. And I think that we can draw on that, especially if I'm looking at us needing more money for being happy or more money for being fabulous in retirement. So I went ahead and started plugging these money sources in from based on what I think that we have or will have. So for example, 3% in basic, or $2,400 a year, is coming from the rental that we have in our duplex. If we live a basic retirement, that $2,400 basically means that the unit that we are renting in our duplex will continue to give us roughly about $200 a month in income. And then I did the same thing for each of these. I know that we have some business income, and most likely will continue to have some business income in retirement. I know that John and I have health savings accounts, and we'll be able to tap into those. And on every level of these, whether it's basic, happy, or fabulous, I increased the amounts that we are going to be receiving. And so that really plays into how I calculated or came up with that 170,000, 80,000, or 250,000. You can see that I've plugged these numbers in. Now notice I do have something in there for inheritance. As John mentioned in the outset, you can't count on that as much as you would count on winning lotto's numbers coming from a magic 8 ball, or the weather coming from magic 8 ball, right? Really, for us, there's a possibility. And that's why I only added it in for happy or fabulous, because I really think that if we do end up receiving money from inheritance, most likely coming from, well, I know it would come from John's parents, not mine. But if we do end up receiving some money in of inheritance, it's going to be small, and it would contribute to us having a happier or more fabulous retirement.
And just be clear, if you've contributed any amount of money to Social Security, you paid your FICA taxes, we all have an account through SSA.gov. So you could use that as a springboard for calculating these numbers for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Capital One Auto Navigator does more than just auto financing. We're here to help you find a car you love, too. Shop millions of cars from thousands of dealers nationwide. Research your favorite makes and models. Explore dealers near you and more. All on Auto Navigator.
Don't forget, as we've said several times on this podcast, that in today's economy, we need multiple sources of income, and Social Security is not necessarily as reliable as it once was. So we highly encourage you to check out different sources of retirement income for yourselves. We've talked about ways to do that. Most recently, we talked about it on Queer Money Podcast, episode number 546. We dove into each of those sources of income. Please think about that. Don't just rely on one source, because it's, for most of us, one source is simply not going to work out.
Exactly. So that's your third assignment from this. That's this week's assignment. Start planning what your funding sources would be for retirement. Ask yourself those questions of where could I, or where most likely will I have sources of income, and start plugging them into a calculator or a tool that you can add up, or at least start to estimate where you see your retirement income coming from. As John mentioned, Social Security was never intended to be the source of your retirement income. It was designed to be there for individuals who didn't save anything for retirement. It's not to fund your retirement. And so we need other sources of income. So go ahead and share your questions or thoughts or comments on this particular episode, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're catching it on Apple or Spotify. Share that information with us. Or if you have specific questions, go ahead and email us at info@queermoneypodcast.com, or reply to the weekly Queer Money newsletter.
And again, let us know if you would be interested in joining that retirement chat to see how other people are succeeding or preparing to succeed at retirement. We think that could be a lively discussion. So let us know if that's something of interest to you as well. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One, N.A., member FDIC. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Come back next Thursday to discuss step 4 in planning your fabulous gay retirement.
And until next time,
Stay fabulous.
Bye.